Hey guys, this is Music Tech Help Guy, and in this video I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison of using FlexPitch versus using Melodyne for vocal tuning. Now, whenever I do videos on vocal tuning or Melodyne, one of the most common questions and comments is, why don't you just use FlexPitch? It works just fine and it comes with Logic, you don't have to pay anything extra for it. Now, my gripe with FlexPitch, actually, there's three main gripes with FlexPitch. The first is that just the act of turning on FlexPitch can introduce artifacts into the signal. So sometimes I find that even when I try to turn off FlexPitch, there'll be pops and clicks in my audio signal, even when you're not using it. So just turning it on can cause the signal to have pops and clicks in it. Two, one problem, like a big problem with FlexPitch is that it doesn't handle more complex vocal timbres very well. It handles clear tone female vocals, clear tone male pop vocals really well, but it doesn't handle more raspy rock or blues vocals or deeper sounding vocals. So that's a big gripe with me. Anytime I try to tune a male vocalist with FlexPitch, typically I'll just get a lot of warbled and wonky sounding artifacts in there that I really don't like. And number three is kind of a continuation of 1 and 2, but it's just not as transparent as Melodyne. One of the things I love about Melodyne is if you tune the vocals correctly, you can do it in a way where you can't even tell that any vocal tuning was applied. Given you have to have a good vocal recording to start with. You're not going to be able to start with a terrible vocal recording and make it sound perfect. You know, you're going to hear lots of artifacts in a bad vocal recording. But if you have good vocal recordings and you tune the right way, you can actually make the vocal tuning sound very transparent with Melodyne, which I can't seem to do with FlexPitch. Let's just hear this as is. I've taken the reverb off. There is some EQ and compression on it though, but let's hear this as is, no vocal tuning whatsoever.
Tell me why you wasted so much of my time. I thought that I'd found everything. Now I realize you were nothing. I hope she made you feel alive. I hope you're happy to see me crying.
So it's not a bad singer at all. She's a very good singer. There's a few little pitchy notes here and there that we could clean up to make her fit better in key with the guitar. And also, this is a pretty high quality recording. This is done with like a $1,000 vocal mic in a professional studio in a treated space. So let me just solo out her vocals here, and let's try FlexPitch first. So just turn on my Flex. I'll show Flex on that channel so it analyzes it, and then I'll put this on FlexPitch. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to happen or not, but I'm going to play this back just as is without doing anything to the audio, and let's see if we can hear any artifacts being introduced into the signal.
Tell me why you wasted so much of my time. I thought that I'd found everything. Now I realize you were nothing. I hope she made you feel alive. I hope you're happy to see me crying.
It's handling it pretty well here, and I think it's because she's got a brighter voice, so it handles female vocals relatively well and brighter singers relatively well. There's a few little spots where I heard just maybe like a minor click way in the background, but it's nothing, no big deal. So I don't like tuning out here. I like tuning in the separate editor. So I'm just going to double click up here. So I'm not going to try to scale quantize this or anything. I'm actually going to go through and just manually tune it up here. So one of the things I do love that FlexPitch does, that Melodyne actually doesn't, is when you have syllables like this.
You wasted so much.
The consonant sound, it actually leaves the note out for anything that's consonant sound. Because you don't want to tune the consonants. You know, if there's no tonality to a note, you don't want to tune it. So that's actually an advantage of FlexPitch over Melodyne.
Tell me why.
Yeah, even that first note there.
Tell me.
It's got some weirdness to it, and I haven't even done anything to it. Okay, so I've tuned up this first phrase here just by double clicking on the notes and setting them to the intended target.
Tell me why you wasted so much of my time.
So far, so good. Some of the notes sound a little overly tuned, but that's just because I'm tuning them perfectly to the grid. You could apply less than 100% pitch correction to these, but for this video, I'm going to apply 100% pitch correction in all of my examples. Now, another thing you can control here is you can adjust the pitch drift on the front end and back end of the note. So you can see on this high note here on A flat, the pitch sort of starts lower and then comes up. It drifts up. So I'm going to pull up the pitch drift here and then pull it down here. Now, one of the things I don't like about Melodyne is there's no pitch drift center control across the whole note. Like instead of adjusting the front and back end, let's say I want to adjust the pitch drift overall, you can't do that in FlexPitch. You can do that in Melodyne pretty easily. Now you can pull down the vibrato, but that's something else completely. That's pulling out the vibrato in the voice.
Tell me why you wasted so much of my time.
I also don't like that there's no integrated way to just join clips or separate them. You actually have to use the scissors tool to separate, and then you have to use the glue tool to glue them back together. So I'm not a big fan of that, but it is what it is. It's a minor thing. Let's go ahead and tune this back.
So much of my time. I thought that I'd found everything.
So I'm just double clicking to set these to the closest pitch.
Thought that I'd found everything.
So I'm going to pull down the pitch drift here, pull it up here. I'll do the same here. Just trying to center these notes a bit better. Not trying to make them sound crazy, auto-tuned or anything like that.
Thought that I'd found everything. Found everything.
Yeah, sometimes having the pitch drift in there makes it sound a little more natural.
Thought that I'd found everything. Now I realize you were nothing.
I find myself often cutting the front end of notes like this. They've got like a bit of a pitch scoop up on them. It ends up sounding more natural that way. And I think this is supposed to be D flat.
Now I realize you were nothing. You were nothing.
Those need to be joined back together. Drag over both of those, glue them back together. Play with the pitch drift a bit here.
Now I realize you were nothing.
Let's pull that wiggle up a bit.
As you were nothing. I hope she made you feel alive.
Let's tune these up. Now this note's got a bit of a blue note in it, so I'm probably going to tune that one a little bit differently.
Made you feel alive.
Let me try separating that blue note out.
Made you feel.
There we go. I think the key of the song is D flat major.
I hope she made you feel alive.
Here's another blue note. This is why I'm not snapping to a particular key. I'm not using the scale snap because when there's blue notes, there's notes that are sort of chromatically in between notes within the key. Like normally, if this is in the key, it would go up to B flat like this.
I hope she made you feel alive.
But that on the word on live, it's too much.
She made you feel alive.
And actually, you could probably go up a little bit, just a little bit. It's almost like in between.
Feel alive.
There we go.
Made you feel alive.
Yeah, a lot of her low notes are where she's out of tune.
I hope you're happy to see me.
Yeah, hear all of that, those artifacts in there, and I hope you.
I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy.
It's got a real weird, almost like a distortion saturation to it.
I hope you're happy to see me crying.
I'm going to leave most of this little run down alone, except for the very last note and this long note here. I don't want to get into the habit of breaking this up and trying to tune all these little ornaments in her voice. It's not going to sound good if I try to do that.
Crying.
I will pull up this pitch drift, though.
Crying. as I wipe the falling tears from my cheek.
Let's just separate this here.
As I wipe the falling tears from my cheek.
Yeah, I mean, that's just really, really noticeable that that's been tuned. And again, I know I'm tuning 100%.
As I wipe the falling tears from my cheek.
It's not great. All right, let's give that a listen now with the music back in, the whole thing.
Tell me why you wasted so much of my time. I thought that I'd found everything. Now I realize you were nothing. I hope she made you feel alive. I hope you're happy to see me crying as I wipe the falling tears from my cheek.
Yeah, I handled it pretty well. Let's mute that and let's try Melodyne. And I'm gonna go through like most of the same, pretty much all the same motions. All right, so I've got everything printed into the Melodyne plugin. Let's try this out again.
Tell me why.
So the way I like to use Melodyne, one of the great things I like to do is hold Option, and you can move the notes around fine-tuning wise, not necessarily chromatically. So if you know there's an intended position for a note, you can get it close, then drag over the notes, go up to the pitch, correct pitch macro, and then center those pitches. Again, one of the things I love about Melodyne that I was talking about before is when you're trying to adjust the pitch drift, you can do it with just the standard pitch tool here. You can adjust sort of like the glide and drift at the beginning and tail end of each note. But what I generally like to do, I don't use that tool much unless there's like a problem. I'll usually use the pitch drift tool. And this allows you to center the vibrato on the note. It doesn't reduce the vibrato. It just centers the pitch drift on the center of the note.
Tell me why.
Which to me sounds much more natural. And also that tell.
Tell me why.
The T on tell has a very clear transient to it, where just turning on flex pitch softened that transient. Again, it may sound like I'm nitpicking here, but I am. That's the point of the video. Let me tune all these up. Now this is that area that's got that little blue note right here. I'm going to separate that out, and I think everything else will be okay.
So much of my time.
So let me drag over all of those notes, tune those up.
You wasted so much of my time.
So like I said, her low notes are kind of where she's falling flat. What I could do here on these low notes is I could center the pitch drift a bit. And if there's too much vibrato, you can use the pitch modulation tool to pull out some of the vibrato.
You wasted so much of my time.
Like right here, there's quite a bit of vibrato on that note. Again, what I'll typically do is use pitch drift first to center it. And then if I want to actually pull out vibrato, I'll use the pitch modulation tool. Again, you have to be careful. If you use it too much, it'll sound really robotic.
I thought that I'd found everything.
Now, this is a note here
Found everything.
that was troublesome in the previous one. This is where the pitch tool comes in handy, because I can make the pitch sort of glide up more, or I can make it more intentional.
Thought that I'd found everything.
That's really intentional. Let's pull out the glide between these two notes a bit more,
Found everything.
so it's not as harsh. Another thing you can do is you can add the pitch drift correction right here in the pitch macro. So sometimes I'll add this in here like around 50%, just to slightly center the pitch drift on the note.
Now I realize you were nothing.
I don't know if I need to separate that or not. Let's see.
You were nothing.
And then when it comes to joining notes back together or separating, in Melodyne, all you do is hover over the top part of the note to double click, and that'll separate, and you can use that same shortcut to join notes back together.
Nothing. I hope she made you feel.
So this part here, right here, I hope she, in the flex pitch example, it sounded pretty wonky. Let's see what it sounds like in Melodyne.
I hope she made you feel.
It's way better to me. It's way more precise. It doesn't sound fake at all. It doesn't sound like it was overly corrected whatsoever.
I hope she made you feel.
I bet even if I add in some pitch modulation to flatten out the vibrato a bit.
I hope she made you.
Yeah, still sounds very clean to me. All right, so off screen, I went through and tuned the rest of it up, similar to how I did in Flex Pitch. Let's give each phrase a listen back to back. Melodyne versus Flex Pitch.
Tell me why you wasted so much of my time. Tell me why you wasted so much of my time. I thought that I'd found everything. Now I realize you were nothing. I thought that I'd found everything. Now I realize you were nothing. I hope she made you feel alive. I hope you're happy to see me crying. I hope she made you feel alive. I hope you're happy to see me crying. As I wipe the falling tears from my cheek. As I wipe the falling tears from my cheek.
Yeah, so there's a noticeable, like, almost like a saturated, filtery sound on the Flex Pitch version on all of these examples. And, you know, you don't really notice it until you play them back to back. Melodyne sounds crystal clear. It's not 100% perfect, and you know, some of that can be just user error, you know, just me tuning a note differently on Flex Pitch than I do in Melodyne. But overall, in terms of just tone quality, Flex Pitch really messes with the audio quality of this singer in a way that I don't like. And yes, using, you know, higher sample rates will certainly help. This recording though is done at 88.2, so it was at a pretty high sample rate. Sometimes you'll find that using a higher sample rate really helps with the quality of time compression and expansion, as well as pitch correction. So that's certainly something to keep in mind. But when we recorded this, we recorded it at 88.2, so I'm not using like a low sample rate here or something. So I've got a male vocal part here too that's just singing in harmony with the female lead vocals. Let me play this back as is, and then I'll play each phrase back to back with Melodyne and then Flex Pitch.
Made you feel alive, happy to see me cry. Wipe the falling tears from my cheek.
So it's a good recording. He's obviously not as good of a singer as the lead vocalist, so let's tune him up and make his harmonies match up well with the leads.
Made you feel alive, made you feel alive, happy to see me cry, happy to see me cry. Wipe the falling tears from my cheek, wipe the falling tears from my cheek.
Yeah, so the same complaint as before. The Flex Pitch algorithm seems to make the tone of the vocals sound like there's harmonic distortion or something in it. There's some sort of saturation in it. And it may just be, you know, part of the algorithm, may just be the way that Flex Pitch handles format correction, you know. And, you know, this is just two vocal examples. You know, the kind of sound that you get may vary from voice to voice. If Flex Pitch works great for you, great, you know. I just don't like that sound. I don't like, you know, what I want is I want the vocal tuning to be transparent. So I'll just play the Melodyne example first with both voices in, and then I'll play the Flex Pitch with both voices in.
I hope she made you feel alive. I hope you're happy to see me crying. As I wipe the falling tears from my cheek. I hope she made you feel alive. I hope you're happy to see me crying. As I wipe the falling tears from my cheek.
Yeah, same thing as I said before. There's some harmonic saturation or something going on bad with Flex Pitch that's altering the tone of the voice that I don't like. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to see more content like this. You can also check me out on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and if you'd like to make a monthly contribution to the channel, you can check me out at patreon.com/musictechhelpguy. Thanks for the support, and thanks for watching.